Hey, what is going on? Hopefully, you're having a fantastic, lovely Lord Sabbath day today. And I'm going to start off. This probably won't take long today, but this I'm going to start off real quick by talking about something that I was talking about last week about the church buildings, right? The buildings that call themselves churches. And you, I'm not going to change my stance ever on this. You should stay out of them. But if there are good ones out there, and last week, if you didn't see that, you should definitely probably go watch it just to get an idea of what to look for in churches that are going to corrupt you, or churches that are going to be somewhat good. The buildings, that is. So go watch that, and this will make maybe even a little bit more sense. But you don't really need to watch that to kind of understand this. But it kind of dawned on me as I was kind of thinking about some things in history, particularly, and just understanding how things work throughout history. And that thing is understanding like what the church buildings do or what they don't do. And the whole purpose of the buildings and the building structure and that kind of thing is to get you to not read the Bible, not read the literature. That's the whole point. Like you go there, you get some Bible verses, but like I said, like it's cherry picked from various different spots across the Bible, and they make some lesson out of it, but it's not biblical. It's not. I guess you can say it's biblical because it's out of the Bible, but it's not. It's not of the Spirit, right? It's not of the Lord, and it's not of the Son, and that's the point, right? The whole point is to make you feel like you're connected with something, and you're not. And that is where it really kind of dawned on me earlier this week. The whole point of the church buildings is to get you to not read it. And once you actually understand why the buildings and the property have this tax-free thing, and who pushed that in our government agencies, why that was pushed, you will then understand why they pushed it to get people to not read the Bible. It's all Satan. It is. You think your government agencies are here for you, and they are not. This entire world is set up to be a temptation to see who's worthy and who is not for salvation. That's what it is. It's all set up for the house of Jacob, the descendants of Jacob, if you are worthy or not. So that is kind of the main thing I just wanted to kind of also clarify about last week is just that's the whole point, because you just go back to looking at one of the oldest churches, the Catholic Church, and nobody really read the Bible except for, well, the Catholic leaders that led it to that said some verses every now and then to the congregation, but they didn't teach the Bible. They just said some verses, and you just kind of did their practice, but nobody read it until the printing press, and it became much more abundant in supply, and then people obviously learned to read in much larger quantities. And then you had the Reformation period, and people were burned at the stake for saying, yeah, hold on, what's in here is not what is going on in the Catholic Church. So, I mean, that's the whole point of the buildings, is to get you to be ignorant and to be stupid and to be lost and not read. Anyways, so I just wanted to say that about last week, as I was kind of thinking about that this week. Talk about Mark of the Beast. This is an interesting topic. There's so much stuff about there. Mark of the Beast. I got a couple of things here I'm gonna bring up on the side here, but they this is gonna be this is gonna be really interesting because remember the mark of the beast is gonna be so tricky. It's gonna be so tricky on how they're gonna get you to be and understand the mark is not gonna be just obvious. It's not going to be super obvious. It's going to be very subtle. And the mark is something that has been going on for a very long time because you got to understand what the mark is. You know, and Christians, you know, how the beast is going to get the Christians to take the mark. Well, I mean, the Christians have been taking the mark, not just for the past, few years or few decades, but for the past several hundred years. And once you understand what the mark is, it makes sense. And the mark is said actually in the Old Testament. And what you need to know about the mark is that it's not going to be, your microchips, your technology, your tattoos, digital ID, which is a really big one that's coming up here recently. Digital ID. No, it's not going to be any of that. It is going to come down to one word. It is going to come down to obedience. Obedience. And this is stated, I'll read a verse for you. It is stated in, oops, wrong monitor there. It is stated in Exodus 13, verse 9. Now, this is kind of part of something else, but the Lord is talking about, our signage with each other. But basically what the Lord is saying at this, is talking about the unleavened bread and stuff like that in the feast and the, your remembrance of our pact. It shall be as a sign to you on your hand and as a memorial between your eyes, that the Lord's law may be in your mouth, for with a strong hand the Lord has brought you out of Egypt. So this is all about obedience. You will be obedient to what the Lord has done for you. And so that's what it is basically. It's the sign, right? It is the sign that you are going to be obedient with your hand and your brain. So you will have those kinds of pure thoughts, actions, as intended by the Lord. Now, the rather interesting thing is obedience is, man, this is a tough one because a lot of people have a very hard time with understanding obedience. And I would like to go more into this, but there are great many things that you do that you don't even realize that are disobedient. And it is not to say using technology is disobedient. No. Like I was mentioning, the tattoo or the microchips or like digital ID, all that stuff, those are all tools. It's just like money. It's, it's a tool. Those are tools. Those are just things. That's not what the Lord kind of cares about. I am not saying, though, that those tools will not be part of the scheme to get you to be disobedient. That is very plausible, very possible, and probably will be very likely. There are so many things that are about disobedience or obedience, right? Depending on which way you're going. It's not just technology. It's not just being a good person. It's, are you obedient to the Lord the Father and Jesus the Son? That's what it's all about. It's about obedience. So tools, they will be used, but I wouldn't worry so much about tools. Technology is a problem, but it's not the problem. The problem is not having the understanding of the scripture and the tricks and seeing and this is the part where I mean ever since you go back the past 70 years as we've had all these buildings that call themselves churches rise up and have come and they have established all over America at least with tax-free property. You don't have to pay property taxes. They have tax incentives. I don't know all of them, but they have tax incentives for religious property. And I mean, what have we seen? We've seen people don't read the Bible. They don't know it. It's very clear. Even in my own family, I got plenty of churchgoers in my family, and they're all stupid. They're all stupid. So stay out of them. You need to understand what the church is. The church is definitely clearly defined in the Bible. I'm not going to define it for you because I want you to go read it. So you need to go read it. You should go read it, and that should be your priority. How they're going to get you to kind of take the mark, though, this is going to be a really interesting one because, mark of the beast, while everybody likes to point out at the devices or the gadgetry and stuff like that, the mark, like I said, is obedience. It's an allegiance. It's a pledge. And earlier this year, I was definitely paying attention to something, and I think this is very relevant for a lot of people right now because it is stated they're going to get Christians. Christians are going to take the mark of the beast. And how are they going to do that? Is it going to be by technology? No, not necessarily. So how are they really going to do it? I'm going to show you this. They're going to do it by your money. Your money. Because what have they told everybody? What have they told everybody for decades now? You should have a retirement account. You shouldn't have kids that'll put off retirement. If you have a kid, they're expensive. Retirement accounts. I understand this so well because I understand the finance industry as super well. I understand the finance industry very well. This is where it'll come from. It'll come from the finance industry. So I'm going to read this for you. On August 7th, 2025, Donald Trump signed an executive order which allows private equity, Blackstone, BlackRock, the Carlyle Group, Vanguard, State Street, which, I mean, that is like all investment. I mean, basically like all investments pretty much. That's going to be like 90%. Right there. Anyways, the permission to steal your retirement accounts. 90% of Americans will collect, with a collective 35 trillion can be stolen. So this is, in my opinion, this is a very well educated guess. This is where it'll come from. This will be where it'll come from. And I'm not going to say this will be like an absolute, because when you understand obedience and pledging, when you pledge to something or you're obedient to something and it's not the Father and the Son, then you took the mark. So your secret societies, which I'm not going to get into, that's you pledge to the beast when you sign up for secret societies. You don't realize that. This is where they're going to trick so many people. I cannot state that enough. This will be where the trick really comes from. Because how many people have retirement accounts? How many senior citizens stopped working old or about to retire? They've worked for retirement. They're going to have nothing else to lean on. this will be the only thing that they have to be able to function that they think that they can think of. They're not going to be able to have anything else. And it's basically going to say, hey, support our way. And you can still have your retirement account. It'll be subtle. It'll be subtle like that in your contract. It'll be like an updated. It'll be like an updated contract with like your brokerage, right? Your fidelities and stuff like that. It'll just be like some updated contractual agreement. And in there, it'll say something like, because people are already having to sign contracts, at least in Texas. In Texas, if you get funding for like state relief for some of the floods that happened, at least earlier this year, back in July, well, you had to say that you are not going to protest or forbid or not do business with that country in the Middle East. Call it Israel. I haven't gotten to that sucker yet, and trust me, that thing, man, dudes have no allegiance to that thing. But yeah, I mean, that's in contracts to be able to take state funding for if you're a flood victim. I mean, imagine that. Imagine that. So if you want to know where the beast is, yeah, just look for, why is that? Why do I have to pledge allegiance to that? That's not of my country. Then there you go. That's most likely going to be the beast if you know how to interpret that correctly. So this is another one. Trump's August 7th executive order just changed the rules for 90 million Americans with 401ks. Your retirement accounts can now hold crypto, private equity, alternative assets. Most people have no idea what is about to happen. So the reason why I brought that one up is because they sold it as a good thing, right? You heard this. This is the one that made the most headlines. Oh, you can hold crypto and private equity and alternative assets in your crypto, but you didn't realize that they actually allowed all these private equities, allows these private equity groups to get in to your retirement accounts. See, you got to be very careful because the finance world is satanic. This is where the devil lives. I fully understand all their stupid dealings, and this is where it'll come from. This is where it'll come from because they've gotten so many people to not work for their daily bread as instructed in the New Testament. Just go work, have kids. No, they stopped having kids and started having retirement accounts, which who owns the retirement accounts? Who owns the finance industry? It is that symbol right there. That symbol. The group of people behind that symbol. There you go. Yeah, they will use that industry and say, "Oh, look at all these great things you can now do with your retirement assets." I wouldn't doubt it if they just absolutely destroy that crypto market. Honestly, they just take all your money. I don't know. Something about crypto just seems really off with me, but I'm not gonna go down that. But I would be very cautious if I have a retirement account. I don't. Me personally, I don't. Not anymore. Once I started really seeing it, started pulling everything. There is no reason to be doing business with them at all. And that, if you have a retirement account, that's exactly what you're basically admitting to. You're just, I'm willing to do business with the devil. And that's where the devil lives. He lives in the money world. He got you to care about retirement. Where did you hear about retirement? From the beast. The beast from the earth. If you don't know that video's out there. Beast from the earth. Go check the channels on Rumble or YouTube and you will understand what the beast from the earth is. Anyways, that's all I really want to cover about Mark of the Beast. It's obedience and how they're probably going to get you to take it. But understand that they've been getting people to take the Mark of the Beast because the mark is allegiance. It's not, the mark isn't just something that's come now, right? It's not going to just be this momentary time period, a very brief glimpse into history. You know, it is something that is always there. It's always running. And as soon as you take, 400 years ago, people were able to take the mark of the beast. 600, 700, 800 years ago. So it's not like it's just coming around now, but it's going to be the great deception is about to happen. There was people taking the mark of the beast before. This one is going to be massive. And that is how they're going to do it. They're going to do it through the finance industry. They're going to hold your retirement accounts hostage and say, hey, you want your money. You want to be able to provide for yourself, buy or sell things. Then you gotta do things the way we want. There's a lot of marks. There's many different ways they get you to take the mark. And when you don't read the Bible, you don't understand all of the things. There's so many things. It's not just one way, but the finance industry will be the biggest way. I promise you, the biggest way. But there's been plenty of other ways that they've gotten you to take the mark of the beast. Secret societies, man, because you pledge allegiance, and most of your secret societies out there are going to be satanic. You don't realize it, and you're like, oh man, I thought we were doing good for the community. Nope. Nope, not those higher levels. That's how they sell to the local people to get, new recruits in, but that's it. Anyways, that's all I wanted to kind of I'll leave it there. And there's always going to be ways. You always got to, that's why it's also said in the New Testament, you got to keep a sharp mind. You have to keep a sharp mind. Satan is going to use every trick he can. Every trick he can. And I would be very cautious about that finance industry, especially if you have a retirement account. If you're going to rely on your retirement account, would not do it. Anyways, have a great Sabbath day. Enjoy it. Spend time with the family. Talk with the Father. Say your prayers. And yeah, just talk with the Father. I do that all the time. Just talk with the Father. Not necessarily just sitting down to pray or laying down to pray, but just talk with Him. Ask for guidance and understanding, wisdom, acceptance. Realize that you're wrong and you're at fault. It is what it is. It's the whole point. Like he's figuring out who's worthy. He gave you the path to be worthy. You just got to follow it. I mean, that's all the Bible is. It's an instruction manual. So have a great day. Have a great weekend. Spend time with your family and loved ones. Spend time with the Father and Son. God bless. Amen.